You're listening to The Grip, where we take hold of mindset and martial arts. Now, let's get started. Welcome back to The Grip. Today we're diving into one of our special mini episodes where we mix things up with a few fast-paced segments. We'll kick things off with Grip and Go, a round of rapid-fire questions to loosen things up and to get to know our guest in a fun way. Then we'll move into Roll Call, where I bring in questions straight from you, our listeners and audience. That way the guest can tackle what's on your mind. And to wrap it all up, we'll finish with Word into Wisdom. In this segment, the guest picks a number between 1 and 100. That number ties to a word from the NICE list, which can be motivational and uplifting terms, and the naughty list, the gritty, tough, and sometimes challenging words. Once revealed, the guest unpacks the word, sharing their personal definition and how it's shown up in their life or martial arts journey, and what wisdom they take from it. That's it. 3 rounds, 1 conversation. Let's get into it. All right. Welcome back to The Grip. We have John back with us. And so if you have not already, go back and listen or watch our main episode. Really good content. But for now, we are going to dive into our mini episode. So to start off, John, we are going to go into our Grip and Go series. So this is more just simple, short and sweet, rapid fire questions, and we will go from there.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Perfect. All right. So our first question is gi or no gi?
No gi is growing on me.
Okay. How come?
Well, I started off in the gi for about 2 years and then went to no gi. And I don't know. It's just, it's a little bit more entertaining as somebody who sweats a lot. And so it's easier for me to sort of sneak out of things. It's a double-edged sword too, right?
Sure.
It's harder to keep a grip. I just feel like it's a more dynamic game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm always going to have love for the gi in the back of my heart there. And I think it's interesting because you do develop, I feel like your technique almost has to be more on point in terms of like, you can't try these sneaky, let me get north-south from underside control and then try to slip a darce in there kind of scenarios, right? You can't, maybe you can, I can't get away with that kind of stuff in the gi.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Favorite cheat meal?
Oh, there's so many. I would say I've been a big fan of butter chicken, Indian food with some naan on the side. That's probably my go-to cheat meal.
And you're in Indiana right now?
That's correct.
What is like Indiana known for as far as like food?
Well, cornfields obviously is what we're known for, but as far as foods, I would say like especially here regionally, grippos and ski. I tried to say that so backwards, but grippos is, and that is like that's like a barbecue chip, but it's got a little spice to it. Okay. And ski is sort of like Sprite. It's like a drink.
Oh.
And so, yeah, because those are manufactured here locally or semi-locally. Okay. And so I know there is a pizza joint here that has what they call a West Sider, which is very specific to Evansville. Like the west side of Evansville is the more rural side, right? It's so silly that they call it that. But anyways, point being is they sprinkle grippos on it and then a ski reduction as well on the top. So they make like a syrup out of the ski.
Oh, fancy. Yeah. Keeping it extra local.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Very good. Ideal submission to win a fight would be? According to your son.
According to my son, it's going to be a rear naked choke. Obviously, that's his bread and butter. I mean, in terms of like what I hit, my game's pretty lazy. Head and arm triangle is probably right up there. I've been trying to expand my horizons now. And like my son, if I take somebody's back, people will often dig their chin, that kind of stuff. And so the transition to the arm bar from the back take, that's been something I've been trying to work on as well.
Nice. Submission that you find yourself always getting caught in is?
Kimura, especially if I'm at Mayhem MMA. Shout out Nate Manis. It's just all the time. It is what it is, and it's one of those too. It's frustrating because he'll submit me like 40 times in a 5-minute round, and it's always a Kimura or something similar to that. And I think that I'm trying to prevent it, and he finds it somewhere. So
right, and it's like, oh, here it comes again.
Yeah.
Training morning, afternoon, or night? You already kind of answered this in the main episode, but
yeah, basically morning. A lot of it's either 11, noon, or 7 in the morning is typically the classes that I'll hit up. The 7 a.m. is Friday one, and then 11 or noon, depending on which gym I'm training at throughout the week.
If you could train with any martial artist, alive or dead, it would be?
Alive or dead? Yeah, I don't know. A hard one for me. I don't necessarily know that I would have a good opinion on that one. Maybe I would say Hodger Gracie. I know he's actually done some stuff at our gym in the past, but I missed all those seminars. But just from like cool. that strong, long-limbed guy, seeing another one of those. But obviously that he's perfected his technique. I'd like to train with him.
Yeah. Your personal fuel before training is not pre-workout anymore.
Not pre-workout anymore. Yeah. Typically, I'll go on an empty stomach. I've got a habit. I'll take 2 water bottles with me. I'll drink one on the way, and then I'll have one that I sip on the way. And that's pretty much it that I go into training with.
Nice. The phrase you repeat to yourself on hard days is?
I don't tap to pressure. I'll say that too. It's a little cringy, right? But like, don't tap to pressure. And so it's very common, as a business owner, as a father, everything's coming at you all at once sometimes or individually, that common quote, oh, I can't catch a break. I don't think anybody can catch a break. The idea is that you just got to stay in the fight and kind of focus on what's moving the needle.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, like I've obviously heard that within training, but I haven't thought of that as a personal mantra that you could say throughout in life. I like it a lot. A wellness habit you wish you started sooner is?
Drinking more water. As basic as that may sound, I feel like that is a huge secret in terms of keeping your energy levels up, maintaining your eating and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of times people will reach for like junk carbs and stuff because they're dehydrated. You get that craving for sugar, and typically it's like, hey, you just need some water. I saw a huge difference in my energy levels too. Like people will complain, the afternoon crash, but if I'm drinking a gallon of water throughout the day, by 3 p.m., I'm still feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Do you have a vice in terms of drinks? Like, are you a big coffee drinker, soda drinker, any of that? Or it's just, I needed to drink more water?
I do drink some coffee. I have recently I've been drinking a lot of Canada Dry as like my go-to soft drink of choice. But I think it was always just one of those, I didn't necessarily drink a whole lot of soft drinks, but I would just not drink enough water for whatever reason. It's just one of those things.
Have you ever dabbled in like electrolytes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so that is one thing too. Yeah. If I'm training a lot, because I've gotten it before too, where it's like I hate it, where both your bicep and tricep will start to cramp. And so you're like in this weird spot.
I've never had that happen.
Oh, it's the worst. And that's when your electrolytes are really messed up, when you're cramping that bad, right? So we keep some powdered Gatorade on hand because again, I'm a big sweater. And so, if I read too hard, I'm sweating. So especially if I'm training jiu-jitsu pretty hard, I'm getting a lot of those electrolytes coming out of me.
Sure. You feel most grateful when?
I'm spending time with my son.
Yeah. The best advice you've ever received was? Again,
it's very cringy, but the whole, it's not the hand that you were dealt, but how you play the cards. That's, I just feel like that's a bit, especially seeing my son, and the differences between our childhoods and that kind of stuff and all that. The idea of, again, not tapping to pressure kind of feeds into that as well. But it's like, hey, we have the tools at our hand. What are we going to do? How do we keep going forward?
Yeah, very good. Love it, John. Flew through those. Very good. Our next kind of series is our roll call series. Okay. So I just gathered questions from the audience that I feel like would pertain to you or that you would have a pretty good response to. So we'll start with the first one, which is, what's the biggest misconception people have about owning a martial arts gym? Which I'm aware that you don't own a martial arts gym, but you worked with lots of individuals that do. So from your side of things, what do you feel like a big misconception would be?
Well, it depends on the gym. I feel like a lot of people take for granted and they think that, oh, this is all a money grab or whatever. They'll complain. Like, it's just miscellaneous parts on this costs money or why is this so expensive. I think when you look at it too, the hard part is a lot of these gym owners are getting squeezed in terms of there's commercial rent that they're paying for, and then they have to deal with the utilities depending on your area. I know Evansville, our utility company has been increasing the rates significantly and all that. So there's always all these little ancillary things that people aren't taking into account, as well as just the insurance requirements and all that other stuff that's in there.
Mm-hmm. What's one feature every gym should have?
As in, like the physical feature? Or?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's just it's a pretty broad question, so I feel like you could take it in any direction that comes to mind.
Day classes. I think that if your gym doesn't have day classes, people like me are, which it's always, it's unfortunate in that typically the day classes are often the most sparse. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you get a lot of good training in there, and it's typically safer because it is a bunch of, mid-30s, mid-40s professionals, people who are trying not to get injured. They're in there. And oftentimes, too, it's like because they're going midday, it's somebody who is committed. So maybe they've already been training for a while. And so it's good, solid training. But I definitely feel like the noon classes or the midday classes are pretty slept on. But, again, I think it's slept on both ways in that, it's unfortunate some communities, for whatever reason, there's just not a draw in that. But I feel like the best jiu-jitsu happens kind of in that noon area, in my opinion.
That's a good point, too, because I've definitely experienced gyms that have had and just stick to that either early morning, even if that, I've been to some gyms where it's like only evenings and it is what it is. But yeah, if they have the feasibility and the resources and individuals to teach early mornings as well as during the day, I mean, I think you're hitting a whole different crowd. And so, yeah, that's a really good point. What are some of the more memorable gyms that you've worked with, and why did they stand out to you?
Well, obviously Mayhem, because they were an early customer. And two, just, the small town vibes, early startup, scrappy, seeing what their struggles are, because it wasn't just an established gym. That was a big one. In terms of working with, I mean, some of them, the North Carolina ones are obviously more remote. I'm onboarding another one here in Texas, and that's actually been, I don't have as much experience with them, but that's been a very interesting perspective in terms of just seeing the guy. Like, I've been texting him and he's loving the system. He's coming from push press and talking about how, it's so much easier. And another thing too is he had mentioned that I guess push press had lied to him and that he wanted a late fee for so long, and it was one of those things that managed memberships allows. And I guess push press told him, hey, we can't do that because it's against Stripes TOS. And I found some research on Stripes website, and it's like, no, this is totally not against TOS. I don't know what they were talking about scenario. So that's in terms of the ones that I've worked with.
Where's this gym out of in Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, nice. That's great. Yeah, I feel like the Texas martial arts community is getting bigger and bigger. And so that's cool that you're branching out. Is that your first out of state, gym that you're working with?
That'll be the sixth state that I'm in. But yeah. So nice. North Carolina was one of the first early out of state ones. And then Kentucky is technically out of state, even though again, they're, because I'm in Indiana, but so yeah.
Awesome. That's really great. Was that a learning curve for you as you started to venture out of just your local community? It's like, how do I want to set this up and go about working with them from a business standpoint?
Absolutely, yeah. And so the idea is like with the local ones, I can just show up and I can see what their process is. And that it's super helpful to be able to see that, because it's not just the software. It's like how their building is structured, what the flow is, whether or not they have sort of like a vestibule area and a check-in counter scenario. There's all these weird nuances that could be happening. And so, yeah, just making sure that my documentation, that was a huge task in and of itself. Because especially too, when you're a young scrappy startup trying to just move as quickly as possible and get these features in, oftentimes the documentation is slow to keep up. And so making sure that the documentation process was, that there was discipline there. And so now, there's a more formal process. When a feature gets released, it gets in the change log, and then our help documents get updated. And there's an actual process for deployment there.
And can you explain that a little bit more? So what documents are you even having to deal with, I guess?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ones. The main one is help.manage membership. So it's just a help documentation platform, and you can search for things there. So how do I cancel a member's membership,
sure.
or how do I set this up? Anytime, anything to use the software. But there's also built-in documentation and help points. So there's several spots where there may be a question mark you can click on and see, hey, what is this? Or at the very bottom, there's this main area that you can put, there's interactive demos. And so you can see, okay, how do I add a family member onto a plan? And it'll pull up this thing and show you, yep, you click here and then you click here and then it gives you an explanation as you go there. But just making sure that those changes are documented properly and information is updated.
Yeah. Less questions down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Next question is, how can members support their academies outside of simply just paying their dues?
Yeah, being vocal, telling your buddies, trying to get people to come in there. That's the lifeblood is, that word of mouth, I feel like goes so much further than any of the other marketing that you could do. I mean, my own story, right? I was trying to get our financial plans in order because our son was on the way, and this guy starts talking to me about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so I really feel like that's the biggest thing that you can do outside of monetary stuff is just making sure you're getting the word out. Like, hey, this is a great gym. Proselytizing, so to speak, or being evangelical about your approach.
Yeah. What's one lesson from running a company that surprisingly applies to martial arts, or specifically for you would be jiu-jitsu?
Just maintaining calm in the panic. And we may have already covered that in some of this, but I feel like that is such a big thread throughout life in general. I mean, my wife tells me we're having a son. Obviously, that is like my heart sank. It was one of those like, because it's just my life was obviously going to be changed.
Yeah.
For better or worse. I didn't know at the time. What's this going to be like? And admittedly, there's been ups and downs, and there's ups and downs in everything: business, relationships, family, even your personal training or training through martial arts. You're going to have good days, bad days, and just recognizing that those good days will come, those bad days will come, and consistency is what gets you from one bad day to one good day.
Yeah, very good. What's one feature or innovation you think every gym will likely have in the next 5-10 years? What are you kind of seeing from your end, or that you think is going to evolve?
I really think that there's been a push towards sort of AI-related marketing, for better or worse. And so the idea of chat bots is something I'm seeing integrated more and more, and not just like corporate websites. It's sort of the mom and pops, which is something Managed Memberships doesn't support natively or any of that. It's more of on the marketing side. But also, too, just in general, a bigger focus on using that sort of force multiplier that is software. I feel like even the people who are reluctant and who haven't used it in the past, or a lot of traditional old school martial arts guys, are recognizing the power of everybody's on Facebook, so maybe we're going to run some Facebook ads or that kind of stuff, whereas traditionally they would maybe balk at those approaches.
Yeah. What's something fans don't realize goes into putting on a fight event? And you kind of talked about your whole process and what you're learning from developing this promotion in general. Anything else to add, or that you want to kind of summarize from that main conversation?
Just the sheer amount of paperwork and bureaucratic red tape that's involved in it, and the sheer amount of risk and all that. And there's all sorts of licensures and insurance requirements. It's insane. It is amazing that all the amount of work that goes into doing a proper promotion, right? Maybe, if you think you can get away with some of these backyard scrap fests,
right?
That's the way to go. But yeah.
Yeah, very good. All right. So last thing, John, we're going to switch into our last series, which is our word into wisdom. Okay. So we have a naughty list of 100 words. We have our nice list of 100 words. So the naughty list is, more challenging words that any or all of us face. And then same thing, the nice list is a little bit more upbeat, motivational terms. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to pick a number from 1 to 100. And then after we go through what your word is, you can just provide a personal definition, maybe how it's shown up in your life or martial arts journey, or any wisdom that you take from it. So first question is, do you want to start with your naughty list or the nice list?
We start with the naughty list.
All right. So now 1 to 100.
55.
55. Recklessness. So taking dangerous risks without regard for consequences.
Reckless. Well, yeah, I was probably a lot more reckless in my youth. I always like to make the joke I didn't make a single good decision until about 25. But yeah, I feel like recklessness is obviously the antonym of discipline, right? And so having an actual approach to the madness, I feel like recklessness in and of itself is sort of just contributing to the chaos and not being mindful of the energy that you're putting into the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think from a business standpoint or entrepreneurship, do you feel like just being an entrepreneur in general, there has to be a little bit of recklessness? I mean, or it seems, yeah. I think for people who aren't entrepreneurs, let's just say, that seems like such a foreign concept, and the whole process in itself seems reckless. And maybe it's just because of all if anything goes awry, it's on you, right? Because this is something that you are developing and starting. And so I don't know, when I think of that, and then I think of in the terms of people that are really pursuing and going all in on a passion, I think from an outsider looking in, sometimes it's that seems so reckless, because if something fails, how detrimental it might be.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that too feeds into, there's a big difference between taking risk and gambling. And so even for instance, the fight promotion, that was something, because I was very upfront. Typically, I sort of just run my business the way I want to run my business. The fight promotion, because it was more capital intensive and the risks were higher, my wife, I made sure she was bought in on the process, and there was conversation. And I had spreadsheets of, hey, this is what it could look like, right? This is what it could look like if this happens, if we undersell, what's our potential downside, what's our potential upside, where are we at in the middle? And so doing those sort of calculations. And of course, you can't ever be 100% prepared for, you can't, there's no crystal ball. So I can't say, yeah, this is going to be successful, this is going to fail, whatever. Right. But you can make educated guesses as to what the broad range of potential outcomes is, and you can do things to limit the potential downside whenever you're doing these sort of things. And so I feel like that's the big difference, right? And so I could see from the outside looking in, it's definitely, this guy's reckless, he's doing his but in the end, it's listen, there's some spreadsheets backing this up that, exactly, this could blow up in my face, but at least the downside has been limited in this way.
Yes. And I think the whole point is when somebody is reckless, they're not weighing the potential consequences, where a lot of times that's maybe first in mind when people are, entrepreneurs and pursuing something, is well, how could this, thinking about how it would fail, and all the challenges that are faced. But the whole point is continuing to push through and trying to figure out resolutions for that so it doesn't happen. So
I will say that is, a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, are hardwired in a weird way that we do kind of like that risk, right? Yeah. It kind of helps you feel alive that, hey, what are some stakes that are involved here? Is there potential downside? And it's almost I don't know, it is one of those, maybe pride or whatever. It's just like anything, right? You get to the end of it and it's hey, I did this. And so you're sort of chasing that same feeling of, oh, okay, cool. This didn't blow up in my face. I was able to manage the risk, and this was a success.
Yeah. And then what's the next challenge?
Absolutely.
Very good. All right. So 1 to 100, we're going to switch over to our nice list.
Let's do 47.
Okay. Opportunity. A favorable circumstance or good chance for advancement or progress.
Yeah. So, I mean, my story, I think, as we talked in the podcast there, was the idea of capitalizing on opportunity. I took a bucket handle tear in my meniscus, had me laid out on the couch in a lot of pain and sort of distracting myself. I turned that potential negative into I spotted the opportunity and turned that into a positive for both myself and these small gym owners, and working through that, and just the ability to spot opportunity. I feel like there's a lot of synergy between a lot of the stuff that we're talking here. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the idea is, you have risk and opportunity. These are all, related terms, especially in martial arts as well. You always talk about the risk to reward ratio of various moves and positions.
Yeah. Very good. John, that's all I have for you. Is there any final words you have for the people?
Just thank you for having me again. Happy to chat with any potential gym owners there. Feel free, visit managedmemberships.com. Reach out to me directly, John@managedmemberships.com as well. Happy to help you grow your community and ease all of your technology burdens.
Love it. Love it. John, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, thank you for the time, the energy, the information. It's great. I hope that we can stay in touch. I'm excited to see where Managed Memberships goes. It sounds like you're already on the full trek of expansion and really helping and supporting the communities within martial arts and maybe other gym avenues too. And do you hope, like, if people within a membership system, no matter if it's a shooting range like you've supported or 24-hour gym, is there any other avenues that you feel like this might be able to be tailored towards this system as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. On another podcast, I got chastised a little bit because it seemed like a lot of the stuff I was supporting was very bro-y in terms of like, shooting ranges, MMA gyms, and, but like Pilates studios. I would love to work with a Pilates studio. Oddly enough, with the SEO and AI optimization, there was a ATV park out of Louisiana that randomly hit me up and was interested. And I wasn't even really that familiar with the concept because, like, here in Indiana, a lot of people just go out in the cornfields and ride around, right? But where they're at, they got an actual park and you can rent horses and you can get a day pass and ride ATVs. And that wasn't something I wasn't even thinking about. But they're like, hey, let's use this software. And they've been using it for a while now, growing their business. And it's been exciting working with them.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for anybody listening, whether you're in the martial arts realm or anything regarding memberships in general, I'm sure you could pick John's brain and see if he can be of support to you. So please do that. And John, thanks again. I have nothing more to say besides I just have so much appreciation for you and look forward to see you continue just to expand and help people. So
thank you. Thank you for having me on. It was great.
Thanks for listening to The Grip. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along on Instagram @TheGripPod to stay up to date on new episodes. That way you can send over a DM if you've got a question you'd like to hear answered on our roll call series. Now remember, stay sharp, be grounded, and never lose your grip. See you next time.